Hey everybody, it's Tara. Today is Top 5 Wednesday, and I guess I do this about once a month so far. But today's Top 5 is Top 5 Books Over 500 Pages. This was unexpectedly difficult. So first is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell, a 2004 novel that was later adapted into the 2012 Cloud Atlas with Tom Hanks and Halle Berry, which was also pretty good. But Cloud Atlas is a special sort of book. It's 6 stories nestled one within the other like Russian nesting dolls, basically. There's one story that starts, and then about halfway through you start a second story, then halfway through a third story, then so on and so on, until you get to the middle story, which tells the whole thing, and then starts closing off each older story until the end. And it's really cool the way it's set up. The overarching theme is connectivity and cycles, I guess. So yes, the first half of the book is really difficult to get through. It's kind of like slogging uphill through some snow and stuff. But once you hit the like 50% mark, it's all downhill in a really good and exciting way. So if you haven't read this book and you're willing to put some work in, then I think this is a good choice, and it's definitely rewarding by the end of it. Next is Frank Herbert's Dune, written in 1965. This is a sci-fi classic. I read it for an independent study class that I set up myself and worked with another teacher on, and I was looking at, I think, religion and science fiction and stuff like that. So Dune is about, it's set in a feudal interstellar society, and it's full of political intrigue and, you know, stuff that I'm generally not interested in. It's a very complex book and very interesting book, and I'm definitely glad that I read it. Next is Victor Hugo's Les Mis. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name because I cannot do French. It was written in 1862, and if you don't know the story, what rock have you been hiding under? Basically, it's about this man, Valjean, who steals a loaf of bread and is imprisoned for an excessively long time, doing hard labor to pay for his crime of trying to feed his family. There's a lot of social commentary and a note on personal relationships, and it's a beautiful, touching, incredibly moving book, and if you haven't seen it, you should. Seen it? If you haven't read it, you should. If you haven't seen the musical, you should. If you haven't seen the movie, you should. Basically, I love this book, and I love its story, and it's ridiculously sad, but ridiculously good. So, next is Cathrynne M. Valente's Orphan Tales in the Cities of Coin and Spice. This is actually the second of the Orphan's Tales books. The first was under 500 pages, but also I prefer the second book just slightly. It was published in 2007, I believe, and the series is sort of like it's written in the style of 1001 Nights, with the main character being the Scheherazade of the story. The main character is an orphan, well, kind of an orphan, and she has, her whole body is printed with text, and these are the stories that are told in the novels. Orphan's Tales in the Cities of Coin and Spice was a chilling read, a dark read, but also with lighter undertones. The mythology is impressive, and the way she uses her words is very flowery, but still admirable, I guess. It doesn't turn me off at all when I read it, so that's pretty good. So basically I would say it's dark, it's intricate, and it's chilly, as I mentioned on my Goodreads review when I read it a few years ago. But yes, Orphan's Tales, great. There are 4 books total, but she's only published 2, and unfortunately I get the feeling that she's not really interested in finishing, which is really terrible for me because I adore this series. Last is The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood, written in 2001. The Blind Assassin is about 2 sisters, one of whom dies, and the story is like a retelling of the past, or a revisiting of the past by the other sister, and it was like a puzzle. Reading this book was like a puzzle, and I enjoyed every single minute of trying to put it all together and figure out what was going on. There was a great twist and fantastic storytelling, and The Blind Assassin is easily my favorite Margaret Atwood novel, which is saying something since I like them. I like all of the ones I've read by her quite a bit, but The Blind Assassin is the best. So yeah, that was my top 5 books over 500 pages. It was interesting trying to figure out which books were so long, and some were surprising, like Dune. When I read it, well, probably when I read it I realized how long it was, but since I read it probably 5 years ago, I've forgotten how long it was, and I was really shocked to see that it was actually way over 500 pages, so that was interesting. And yeah, it was a nice blast from the past, so yes. If you didn't know, Top 5 Wednesdays were started by Ginger Reads Laney, and I will leave a link down below to her channel so you can check out her videos, because she has some really interesting videos and she does great reviews, so I highly recommend you check her out and maybe join us for further ones. I say join us, but I only do it like once a month, like I said. But yeah, that's the beauty of it. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. So yes. Anyways, if you've read any of these books, please let me know what you thought of them, and if you haven't read them and you have any questions, please let me know, although I do have a terrible memory if you haven't noticed. So there's that. Anyways, until next time.